Hello everyone. Today we're looking at St Alban, because St Alban's feast day is on the 22nd of June, which is this coming Monday. And as you know, the church calendar has loads of feast days and holy days, and you can see from this picture here, we've got Advent and Christmas and Epiphany going round into the life of Jesus, and then Lent and Easter and Pentecost, and then summer, or what we call ordinary time in the church, going back round to harvest, and then we go round back again into All Souls and All Saints, and back into Advent. So you know those big days, Easter and Christmas and Epiphany and everything. But in between those big days, there are loads and loads of smaller celebrations or feast days when we remember the lives of famous Christians and saints throughout history. And each one of those feast days is a celebration. And it's really good to know the ones, especially in Lent, because in Lent, on a feast day, you don't have to fast. You don't have to give anything up on a feast day. So like St Patrick's Day always falls in Lent. And so you can eat as much chocolate as you like on St Patrick's Day because it's a feast day. But yeah, today we're looking at St Alban. Now, St Alban was the first English martyr, which means he was the first person in England to be killed for their Christian faith, which is something that used to happen a lot in the past. Thankfully, doesn't happen so much these days. Now, Alban lived in about the 3rd century in Roman Britain, in a city called Verulamium. And that we first hear about Alban in the work of another saint, the Venerable St Bede. Now, Bede wrote a history a few hundred years after this, an ecclesiastical history of the English people, which is really the first written history of our country. And in that, Bede tells us that Alban was a Roman soldier. And one day, that Roman soldier, Alban, gave shelter to a stranger who was fleeing from persecution. And this stranger turned out to be a Christian priest. And while sheltering the priest, Alban was so inspired by how important faith was to him, and so he asked him to teach him more about Christianity. Unfortunately, it wasn't long until the Roman authorities caught up with the priest. But Alban's newfound faith would not allow him to let the authorities arrest the priest. Instead, Alban exchanged clothes with the priest and was arrested himself, which allowed the priest to escape, pretending to be a soldier in Alban's coat. Alban refused to renounce his beliefs, and the judge ordered that he should receive the punishment intended for the escaped priest. Upon the ruling, Alban was led out of Verulamium and up the hillsides, where he was beheaded. So Alban is honoured as Britain's first saint, and his grave on a hillside quickly became a place of pilgrimage. The story of an ordinary man doing an extraordinary thing has endured and continues to inspire to this day. And so this is the shrine, which is now in the cathedral at St Albans, and for hundreds of years pilgrims from all over the world came to visit this shrine and remember Alban and the things that he did. And they even have a festival every year on Alban's Day with these giant puppets, and they march them through the town to remember what Alban did. So Alban gave his life to save a stranger. And that is the story. That's a big part of the story of what it means to be a Christian in England. Because St Alban is our first saint. He's the first saint of England, and he became a saint for defending a stranger. And if we think about that, and then think about our school values, and how Alban fits in with those, and which of those values he displays. And if you want to, put some ideas in the comments box below. And these were said to be the final words of Alban, and they still pray these words at the cathedral every week. I worship and adore the true and living God who created all things. God bless everyone.